What's up, guys? We're live. So the podcast that you guys have been asking for is here. We got Richard Ruina here, one of the OGs of the pickup community, and yeah, so this is gonna be a dope podcast. So let's start off, Richard, with a quick little introduction for anyone who's not familiar with you.
All right. So I was quite active in pickup seduction from 2006 to like 2015, something like that. And I'm from London, and I was teaching at that time. There was kind of mystery method and guys that were teaching a lot of this routine based stuff, and that didn't really fit well with a European audience. You know, the whole magician and showman and
Yeah.
peacocking stuff. So I came up with this what I called, like a natural game style, and that's what I was teaching. And then people liked it, so my company became quite popular. But a few years ago, I sold everything, so I have no interest in the pickup space, which I think is maybe going to be good for the guys listening because and watching, because I have nothing to sell, so I'm not going to say anything with any agenda in mind, or try and pitch anything. And I'm 41 now, so I've kind of gone through the whole process of being like the shy virgin nerd guy to being the cool club guy. I was in Miami and stuff as well. What's that club in the Fontainebleau? Yeah, Live. And I've been, so I've been all around the world, had all those crazy times, and then now I'm settled down and married. So I've kind of gone through the whole process. So that's my quick background.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot I want to ask you on that. So I guess let's start with this. Like, what made you initially get into game?
I was always bad with women. I was always bad socially in general. I was very introverted. I would get very shy in any situation where people were looking at me. So, the teacher asks a question in school and I need to stand up and give a response. I'd go bright red and be like mumbling and no one would hear me. They say, speak up. And then I sit down and I'm just kind of shaking and traumatized. I was super, super shy and nervous. And so I always would have liked to have someone say, hey, look, you can do this and read these books and learn this and say this to women. But I didn't know it was possible. I kind of thought if you're a loser, you're a loser. And, I could see some cool kids at school and college and whatever. And I didn't know that you could actually become that because I didn't see anyone else change. I just saw like the nerds stayed the nerds and the cool kids stayed the cool kids. And that was it. And then there was like the pickup community was mainly online and not very big back in those times. But I think my cousin found some stuff on the internet, and then we started reading and watching and listening to the guys even older than me, like David D'Angelo and Ross Jeffries, and reading The Game by Neil Strauss and all of that stuff. So that was the introduction. And for me, the main thing it did was just show me that I could change, and you didn't need to be, like if you watch the UFC and you're like, oh, I don't think I can, an average person can't learn to fight like that. Or, you watch the Olympics, you're like, well, an average person, I can't start playing tennis tomorrow and then play in Wimbledon. Like, that's not going to happen. When you start learning pickup, you're like, well, that guy's he's not especially smart. He's not especially whatever, like he's got no special qualities, but he's really good with women. So it looks like something I could do. And that's what made me get into it. I was always ready for it, but I didn't know it existed. And as soon as I know it existed, I jumped in.
That sounds like a very similar story to me, honestly, in pretty much every single way. So that's funny. But I think that's like a fairly somewhat similar story to a lot of guys in the community. Is like they were kind of shy, they didn't know. They wanted to be good with girls, but they didn't know it was possible. Then they found out it was possible, and then they started trying to be good with girls. I guess my next question was like, what are some? You mentioned that you were known for having a more natural style, which is again also something that is synonymous with me. But what were like some of the key tenets of your styles or like your teachings back when you were, like had your company going and you were like making a lot of content? Like, well, I know it's kind of hard to sum it up, but what were like the big tenets?
I mean, the place where The way we differed, I feel like a lot of those styles were like say this, then say this. It got people into the mind frame of if they're stuck at a certain point, like they're sitting next to the goal and they need to escalate, and they're like, okay, what's the move for this part, or what's the line for this part? So I tried to break it down in different ways. We had, like off the top of my head, one of the things I came up with was like this 3 characters of a seduction, and it's the idea that if you imagine a bar environment, you need in the beginning to kind of catch her attention. So you need to be quite upbeat, positive, quite expressive, because it's maybe a noisy environment. You need to be loud enough. You need to engage the friends. So it's like a Mr. Sociable kind of character. You're working the room, you know other people in the place, like being the introvert kind of guy, or just being very quiet it's not correct. So that's like the first character. That's how you get in with people. That's how you start an interaction. And then there was this Mr. Comfort, which is like the second phase, which is when you don't want to keep being loud and jokey or too high energy. You need to slow it down a little bit. You need to be a good listener. You need to really connect with the person, and that's kind of a different mode. And then again, you need the seductive mode. That's the final phase. And again, that's different, because these guys that are really hyperactive and high energy, it doesn't really fit a seductive vibe. It's like, oh, hey, look at me. Oh, let me tell you this in the story. And I was doing this, and then let me kiss you. It doesn't really go. So it was teaching guys like body language and the nonverbal communication, and to think of it in that vibe. So it's like when you want to start a conversation with a group, you need to be in this first phase. Then you're one-on-one with her. You're going to build rapport and get her comfortable, make her feel good with you, get to know her better. And then when you feel like you want to go for the kiss, you shift into that final mode, which is like more pausing, more slow with the speech, eye contact, all of that stuff, working in the touches. And so that was kind of how we would do it, is like giving guys more like frameworks, like what is the framework of a good conversation, not here's a conversation where you go, hey guys, you'll never guess what, and what they say, what, and you're like, oh, I was just outside and I saw this, and then they say, oh yeah, and then I say this, and then I say, by the way, so it was more like, here is the framework of a good conversation. Here's the so you don't ask 10 questions in a row or just talk about yourself. Like, here's how you can do it. Here's the way that you would smoothly go for a kiss without any lines or specific techniques or whatever ways of doing it. And yeah, so when it was talking about natural game, it was really thinking about what is going on at each moment of a seduction, and how you can teach it in a more of a framework way that the guy can then make his own, and so that you're not just a bunch of robots going out saying the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you familiar with how familiar are you with like RSD Julian, old school RSD Julian?
Somewhat familiar. I know he had a huge scandal, and but I can't say I know, like exactly what he was teaching.
Okay, yeah. Before the scandal, he had a product called Pimp, and it was actually interesting because he talks about like the tenets of like good inner game, which I found interesting. So he says it's being grounded, purposeful, self-amused, and I think controlled. Right? When he combined those, the only thing I would add to that list is dominant, which I think he forgot. But once you add that in, I think you have like a really good framework. So yeah, that kind of stuff always stood out to me. I also want to ask you this question. So you wound up. How did it go? Like, you met Kezia Noble, you wound up working with her, or you wound up hiring her? What's like the story there?
Yeah, she was. I was originally teaching one-on-ones, and then I started teaching boot camps. And one of our inventions, as a pickup company, was that we had these HB helpers, which was like the hot babe helpers, using the kind of old terminology. And so I needed to find some pretty females to use for exercises and for the guys to kind of practice things on before they went out in the field. So she was one that worked at the first boot camp, and a lot of these women were just they didn't progress beyond just doing that. But she started saying, "Oh, wait, can I say something?" When he was talking to me, he couldn't make eye contact, or when he said this and that's not, and I was like, "Oh, we're getting some good advice." So then she kind of graduated to being a trainer and went from there. But that was like 2007, long time ago.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Wait, how did you initially? So was it like a Craigslist ad or something? Like, how did you find these helpers? Like, how were you finding them?
No, they were all found, like actively found
Oh,
in places, not
okay,
ads or anything like that.
okay. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. I was just curious about that. Yeah, because I've had her on the podcast a few times, and I've been on hers. She's a cool chick. I like Kezia. Okay, so let's move on to this. So you mentioned you retired from the pickup community. What made you retire? You just found you just wanted to get married, or what was the?
Well, like being in the pickup community for me was about me getting better,
Mm,
um, helping people if I could. Obviously, it felt quite nice to see a guy transform. But when I started, I was charging like under 50, I don't know, like around $15-17 an hour. So I wasn't getting into it for financial reasons.
mm,
Then it became a successful company. But for me, pickup was always just to get the skills. I didn't want to hang around with a bunch of guys sharing techniques, or on forums with a bunch of guys, or whatever. Anything with a bunch of guys I wasn't so interested in. I wanted to be with women mainly. So when
mhm,
I got the skills that I needed from the practice and training and whatever else, other ways that I got the skills, I didn't consider myself part of the pickup community in that sense.
mm,
Also being more like the natural game, I didn't really identify with the guys that were real, like the hardcore community guys. And then the business turned into, a money-making one. So I stayed in it to make money. And then I was happy to be able to exit, but I guess it was hastened by this Me Too and the stuff that just made it very hard to advertise. We started losing bank accounts and video
mm,
hosting, and all of that stuff getting shadow blocked on Facebook and whatever else. So
mm.
it became like not a good business to be in, and I didn't need to do it anymore. And so I was happy to sell when someone wanted to buy.
Okay, got it. Interesting. So what happened? Like, so the person who bought your business, like, what are they doing with it now? Do you have any
Our
idea?
business wasn't. Yeah, they're doing really well. They're making good money. Like it's our business was not. The live events was the initial thing, but by the end we were selling a lot of products and selling products to fresh faces that didn't know about pickup. They were just told, like,
Mm.
buy this product, it'll teach you how to get women or whatever. So they're still selling that, and it's a multi-million-dollar business. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, because it's got to be hard to like. I'm just imagining like selling a product like you were the face of the business, right? So with you being gone,
Mhm.
that's like I feel like it's got to be a little harder to sell the product, right? If you're no longer there, or
If you're working it yourself and like, hey guys, I'm Richard, watch this, and then guys, it's Richard, I'm on a podcast, guys, it's Richard, I'm on here's my book, and people keep getting to know your name like that, then and that's how your business grows, then that's one way. But the other way is you just buy cold traffic on wherever,
well, okay,
Facebook or anywhere else,
right, right.
and they come to your site and they have no clue who you are, and because it's got good marketing and the product's good, they buy it and they don't ask for a refund, and that's
Yeah,
bigger money obviously than
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
like be a guru.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. There's a lot more money in good marketing and copywriting than there is in like I don't know doing it the other way. But yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
The
Okay,
people that
so
make the most money are not the ones that you've heard of.
yeah,
Like I'll talk to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I know all the pickup gurus. I'm like, okay, the biggest one is this, and I'm like, well, They're not
Yeah,
the one, you know, making
yeah,
the most money.
the ones who make the most money, most people haven't heard of. Yeah, yeah. It's
And
like
products are usually terrible, and you probably can't find a picture of their face.
yeah, like Pandora's box, girlfriend activation system, like that shit. I know made a lot of money.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Another question that people were asking in the when I made a post for this podcast is someone was asking me how much about a Good Morning Britain interview.
Mhm.
Can you summarize what is the Good Morning Britain interview that people talking about?
Yeah, when I was working on my video game Super Seducer, the first video game, we got a PR company and they wanted to go controversial. So
Oh,
they said, what about something where you say English women are all fat and useless and that guys should date Russian women? I said, yeah, I mean, I do think Russian women are better looking than English women, so I can say something like that. And they pitched it, and this show liked it, and so it was just them trying to attack me for that point, and me saying, well, what are you gonna say? It is what it is, and it turned out to be a popular interview. It's got more than 1 million views on YouTube on their channel, but obviously lots of people watched it live. And then it spawned like Daily Mail article with I don't know how many shares or whatever, but it was a big thing at the time, and I just did it to try to get some PR for my game. And most people think I did well on it. They kind of did their best to make me look bad and ridicule me, but I held my own, and they edited the video a bit before they uploaded it and stuff, and had a lot of dirty tricks, but I still think it was a nice experience. I do stuff like that. Like if you told me you want to grill me and think I'm a piece of shit, would I come on your podcast? I'd say yeah, let's do it. Because I'm happy to defend my views, or
yeah,
have them challenged or whatever else.
I respect that. Yeah, I do the same stuff. I don't know if you watch much of my channel, but I do a lot of debates and stuff like that, where I debate people who think differently than me. Yeah, yeah. So
Nice one.
I'm exactly the same way.
It's a good challenge as well when it's live TV and they've got the control of everything, like the camera angles, edit, and everything. Like that's a huge challenge. Like being put on the spot, and millions of people are watching, and they're going to try and abuse you. Like that's just a good challenge. So it's for anyone.
But you guys initially wanted that. You wanted something controversial, right? That was the initial goal. So
Yeah.
okay, okay, gotcha. Now, okay. So
Yeah.
basically, the
Didn't
PR.
I don't in retrospect, I don't think that kind of PR really worked for us, but I think it can work.
Yeah, it's kind of risky because especially if you have like Facebook or Instagram, it can lead people to mass report you and get your social media accounts taken
Mm.
down if it's something too
Mhm.
controversial. So that's like the downside of doing like controversial press is that it can just like blow up in your face and you can just get banned from all
Mhm.
these sources that you use. Okay, so also another question I had, what how did you mentioned you got married, so how did you meet your wife, or like some of the was it from cold approach or
Yeah, it was in a bar actually,
Mhm.
and unusually for me, I'd had a like. I will have a few drinks when I go to a bar, but I got more drunk than I normally would because I happened to be stressed at the time, and that's the state I met her in, like around midnight in a bar. She was totally sober, and she was the designated driver. It was her friend was having a party with some of her friends, so she was out, and it
Mhm.
happened like that in a bar.
Okay, interesting. And what made you decide to get married to like this woman? Like, what did you like about her so much?
I would say that for some years before that, I was ready to settle down. I think there are different types of guys, and I think that if a guy is 20 or 25 and he says like I'm never going to get married, I think it's too soon. It's too soon to say
Right.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know that there are some guys that kind of just I was going to say use women, but it's not exactly that. Like they see women's role in their life as just having occasional dates and sex and interesting times, and the rest of their kind of needs and wants they get filled by their male friends,
Mhm.
But for me, I that kind of relationship with a woman ideally it would be the main one, like the one where you share everything, you do everything together, is like your best friend, soulmate, and like everything. I wasn't just looking for a woman to sit home with the kids while I'm out playing golf, or any other thing that is similar to that. And I'd had enough experience to know exactly what I wanted. So she had various things that the others didn't. She's very intelligent, and she was very interested in learning stuff, very curious. She valued me for me, so not just because I had nice clothes or whatever else. Like some girls didn't appreciate the things I actually had, and she saw it and she appreciated it. So there was a whole list of things, but it comes down to someone that you can be around most of the time, that wouldn't be annoying, that makes you better, that continues to improve themselves. And yeah, I'm very happy. So I kind of knew what I was doing, and now we've been together 7 years, and it was right. And before that, I did feel a bit of emptiness or whatever it would be, where I'd have lots of dates, and I'd have sex with a girl and she'd be very attractive, and then the next day I'm like, but I'm missing something. Like, this is not really sustainable. It's not what I want long term. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Okay. There's a whole bunch of questions. Let's take some questions from the audience. Question: Richard always seems very relaxed, but not fake or forced. Wait, what did you do, Richard, for your inner game, or just calm, cool demeanor you can keep, especially around chicks?
I definitely wasn't calm. I would say that the main thing that I did was do things that terrified me, and then it made me calm. So I talked about this live TV show, and I actually did a bunch of those. And I did live radio shows before that, which are a bit less scary. And when it came to talking to women, I would go and try and talk to a group of women. I went to dance classes when that was so far out of my comfort zone. I would do acting classes, which again are terrifying if you're an introvert and don't like people looking at you. So I was doing all of that stuff that would scare me, and now now I'm even a little bit out of practice. So those things, I would probably sweat a bit if I had to do a live TV show tomorrow. But at my peak, nothing bothered me, because I just kind of desensitized to everything, and I had some kind of attitude to it, like I don't care if it goes wrong, who gives a fuck. It was like when I was doing skydiving, I was going to jump out of the plane, I was scared, and I said, well, I've had a good life, I'm ready to die. And I kind of was at peace if the worst happened. And then I felt a bit better, doing it. I didn't want to do it again, but that kind of got over that fear. And I was only doing that to get over my fear of heights, so I was kind of going through my fears and trying to just get rid of them. So yeah, like if you've got a lot of things that scare you, that is one approach, is just to tackle them all in different ways.
It's called progressive desensitization, I believe, in psychology. But yeah, it's like doing things that make you uncomfortable more and more until they no longer make you uncomfortable. Yeah, that makes sense.
I probably threw myself right in there. Like they say, start with the small dog and then like the chihuahua and then work your way up. But I was just like jumping straight into the scariest stuff.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely one way to do it. It's a faster way. Whose game does Richard like or respect from old school or modern pickup?
The thing is, like the best guys that I met were ones that are not so famous, and I also wanted to be around more natural guys. So if you think about it, like in the London or the Miami club scene, if you go to those places and you look at who the coolest guy is, he's not going to be a pickup guy. So I wanted to get to know those guys. I mean, I I like mystery, and I think he's very good with women. I didn't so much like the mystery method, and he works with a guy called Baxter, who used to work for my company. He's amazing with women. Again, it's like it's a different method, but he's very good with women. And in my book, I talked about a guy called Steve Jabber, who I learned a lot from. And he's been on and off kind of coaching, but Owen Cook, Tyler from RSD is really cool, nice guy. And then there are a few that are that were less cool.
Our lists are totally different, but yeah, okay, fair enough.
I probably, I mean, I was in London, so I wasn't in the hotspot. So
Yeah.
do you know any of the guys from back in the day then who's on your list, or like a couple of them?
I would say, okay, on my list of like guys who I think are legit, I would put it's not going to be people who were like around back then. I like Austin Summers, John Anthony. I like Jason James. He's not too popular. I think that what's their name? The Gabriel's pretty good. Daniel White. I mean, it's a lot of people who I've just had on my channel.
I don't know any of them.
Yeah, I figured that.
So,
From
yeah,
the people that you might know, I think like old school RSD Julian used to be good before he had his little meltdown. I think he's like kind of become a pansy, but he used to be good. I think Owen Cook, not so much, but who else do I like from those days? I like the Liam McRae guy. He was I think from London, right? Liam, or he's from Europe, that's for sure. Liam McRae from Natural Lifestyles or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think most of the people in the community suck, honestly. That's my honest opinion.
I mean, a lot of it was that they had no quality control. So you're like, well, you're a decent looking guy getting average looking women and approaching, tons of women and getting some results. Like, is that something to write home about?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also a lot of like I don't know, like deceptively cut infields. So like it looks like the guy hooked up with a girl, but he didn't really hook up with a girl. Like so yeah, I can usually tell like when looking at infield if sex actually happened or not based on like the girl's body language and vibe. Like not always, but like most of the time. But like sometimes like some of these infields, I'm like, there's no way they fuck. Zero chance. Like close to zero
we had one that people said was fake though, and it wasn't fake. So it's
Oh yeah, I mean, I never seen like I'm not claiming that about your infield by any stretch. I haven't.
It
Seen
wasn't
that.
me. It was a different guy, but he kissed her in the street. It was like one of the first daytime kisses in the street filmed. Maybe
no, yeah, it can be annoying. I've had people say that about my infield. I've had people say that it's fake or that I pay girls. I'm like, I think if I was paying, I would get way better reactions. But like I'm paying for girls to be like, okay, whatever. Like I don't know, like, but yeah. So, but yeah, I think a lot of the pickup community, like you said, there's no quality control. So it's a lot of also it's a lot of internet marketers who just dominate the space and make unrealistic promises. But anyway, how does Richard manage to stay during cold approach, especially when he gets rejected? So, like, I guess state he means like your mood or your vibe.
Sure. I used to do a lot of things for state before I approached, and I think it sounds a little bit maybe it sounds a little bit geeky and silly, but I'll tell you what I was doing anyway. So I would before going out, I would lie down and close my eyes and visualize some approaches going really, really well, and like the whole interaction, just to kind of get my mind in that verbal state. Because to go from being in your house and you haven't talked to anyone for 24 hours or something to go out and be really fluent and funny, it didn't really happen. So I did that. I had affirmations. I had some notes of things that I wanted to try. Like I'd hear some pickup moves, or had my own ideas, and I'd have things to try. So like a checklist of things to try. I'd have like, clothes and cologne and things that made me feel good. And then I'd have pump up music, some tracks that get me in a good state before I go out. So I'd do all of that. And when it came to the thing is with like the rejection stuff is they, in the beginning when I was getting a lot of rejections, they were not as bad as I expected. A lot of the women would be polite and just say, you know, they have a boyfriend or whatever, and I didn't get, you know, the slap in the face or the drink in the face or the stuff that, you know, or the boyfriend coming over and hitting me. I didn't get any of that. So my expectations were quite bad, and then the reality was just like, oh, sorry, we're just having a drink, we're catching up, or oh, sorry, we're having a conversation, we don't talk to you, or listen, I've got a boyfriend and he's coming soon. So it like, why would that be awful? So it like, imagine you manage your state when you get rejected. Like none of that's going to send you away crying. And when you're learning, you don't expect to get it right. Like I wouldn't go and play golf and expect to get a hole in one or, you know, whatever on my first game. So I didn't have that unrealistic expectation. If anything, I was expecting worse. So it was a pleasant surprise. I was like, oh, she was nice to me. You know, no big deal.
The brutal rejections almost never happen. Like they shouldn't happen. Like they should happen only very, very rarely. Like not something that happens often at all. But yeah, like a lot of people
I felt bad when I got dumped. The first few girls that I got that were out of my league, because I had, you know, good early stage game, and then I'd be too needy or whatever. That's when I felt bad. Like when you get some feelings invested, and then, you know, and then they don't answer your calls or they don't want to see you again. That is hard. But the cold approach, like, why should you care what this stranger?
Well, a lot of guys are living in this like fantasy world where they think that if they approach a girl, they're going to get the police called on them or something. Like I see the guy say this, like, yo, Alex, I want you to cold approach. I'm worried about going to jail. I'm like, well, you're not doing anything illegal. You're just literally talking to chicks. But yeah, a lot of guys, especially nowadays, are living in this like really paranoid reality where they think that like they can get in real big trouble for this kind of stuff, which is not really true. I guess theoretically it could happen, but like you'd have to do something like really weird. Like you can't go to jail just for like talking to a girl. You'd have to like, I don't know what you'd have to do, like whip your dick out in the middle of the street or something. Like I don't know what you'd have to do to get arrested.
Something that they're probably not confident enough to even try or even think about doing. Like if a guy is that worried about what will happen, he's going to be so careful anyway that he's almost going to be like, he's going to be too careful. It's going to be the problem.
Yeah, right. Okay. Ask why he made the Super Seducer games. So what was the goal with the video games, or is just to expand the brand?
Well, I like games, and it was something new. I'm always more interested in doing something I haven't done than doing the same thing for the 20th time. So we made the games, and they were successful, popular. So
Cool.
How did it go? I wouldn't have done it if it had no chance of commercial success.
It was just a video game where like you're picking up chicks in the video game, or how did the games work?
It uses live video, so it'll play some video of me like approaching a girl, walking towards her, and then pause, and then you choose what to say, and it plays out the different options. And it was popular because it has some really stupid options that are, you know, ridiculous. And then it's got some that are the correct option, and then I explain why it was right or wrong. And we made 3 of them.
Okay, interesting. That's a good idea. That's smart. I would never really thought of that. Question: if you had to choose one concept you've learned that moved the needle the most, which one would it be?
Do you find these questions hard? The one just one trick thing or one concept?
Yeah, they're kind of hard. I usually give like multiple things when I'm given those questions. I'm just like, well, here are like the 5 things that I think are important. Like for me, like I'll answer this question first. For me, the one concept that moved the needle the most, I would say it's so hard to pick just one, but I would say being polarizing was probably the biggest thing I saw in terms of results. Like when I decided to have like a sexual bio in my Tinder and use a shirtless photo and invite girls straight over, like being more polarizing, I think would be the thing that probably made the biggest difference in my results for me, I would say.
Yeah, that works in real life too. There's something where you can say like you can disagree, not in an angry way. You just say, I don't agree with that. I think this. And there's just the guy saying, oh no, I agree with you. Yeah, you're right. Me too. Yeah, I like that as well. So when you disagree, it does two things, especially if she's very, very attractive and is used to getting guys just trying to agree with her on everything. That shows that you're honest, which is a big thing. It shows that you're being real, so she doesn't need to go through all those hours wondering if you're a faker or not, like she does with most guys. And yeah, it shows some kind of independence, and that you're not just going to be pushed around. And then when you say that you agree with her on something, she knows it's real. So it serves many purposes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you should just disagree for the sake of disagreeing, but if there's something,
No, just when you do,
yeah, exactly.
like when you really do, because
Yeah.
it's just dumb watching guys just the way they just agree with everything, and you're like, come on, man, you don't think that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That stuff gets pretty pathetic, and the girls know that the guy's just agreeing with them for the sake of agreeing. So the girl sometimes will like troll guys. She'd be like, "Yeah, I really love tampons." The guy's like, "Oh yeah, tampons are the best. I love them." Like, like they're not even thinking what they're agreeing to. Okay.
It's being fake. It's lying. So I don't do it.
Yeah. What do you do for a living now? Someone asked.
Still PUA training. He says that company is sold. The website is sold. All of that is sold. I get some residual income from it still, and I get paid from the video games, and I have some property investments.
Cool.
And I made some money in Bitcoin and whatever. Like I made money in different ways. So I'm lucky that I don't need to work.
Cool. I lost 15,000 in Bitcoin. I'm still a little bitter.
Well done.
Okay. Do you have an open relationship or are you monogamous? Someone asked.
I don't want to get into those kinds of details, because I think say if let's say you've got let's say you're in a relationship and it's public, and then you're doing stuff within that relationship, and then you make that public too. It's disrespectful to the woman.
Yeah, I got you. No worries, man.
Like when I was single, I wasn't even, given too many details about.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. Okay. Why do you think Super Seducer got so much backlash? Someone asked.
Just the timing. It was like height of Me Too. Teaching guys seduction, or people jump on stuff. They're looking for something to jump on, and it just happened to blow up like that. There's nothing actually in it that is too bad.
Random question, but did Richard ever learn anything from Hypnotica in person or not?
No, I did do hypnosis course. I did the kind of father of hypnosis is called Milton Erickson, and he is the inspiration for Richard Bandler and the NLP movement. And then I've got like the NLP master practitioner, and I did the hypnosis with Paul McKenna, who's like some British hypnotist. And then I did the Ericksonian hypnosis. So I did a bunch. I was doing loads of courses, and those are like 3 of the courses. But I met Hypnotica and had some dealings with him, but no, didn't do training.
Okay, got it. Richard, do you keep tabs on the pickup industry nowadays? What direction do you think it's going, and is it a good direction? Okay.
No, I didn't know those people that you mentioned, and I'm not really that interested in it now. So I have some friends that are still in it, so I might hear things randomly like that, and otherwise no. Okay, and in terms of direction, difficult to tell.
Richard, you're 41 years old, but you look way younger than what an average 40-year-old man looks like. What's your secret?
I try to get enough sleep. I do gym. I do sauna and cold plunge, and take a lot of vitamins. And my wife puts some creams on me in the evening. I don't know what they are, but she does put the creams. And,
come here, Richard. Take your creams. No, honey, no.
I don't mind. If I had to do it, I probably wouldn't. But she's very disciplined with everything. So
it's time for your creams.
Yeah. Cream time. Every day. So yeah, just a bunch of stuff. Like I have a lot of time, and I decided that focusing on health is a good thing. So I try and be like happy and healthy. That's, you know.
Yeah, if you don't have health, you don't have anything else. I've learned that lesson the hard way. What do you mean by the girl doesn't have to like you to sleep with you? Does that mean we don't need common interests, just the basic push pull, or man to being a polarity to attract? So I think he's just asking for clarification.
Well, she doesn't need to like you to sleep with you. If she finds you infuriating, is quite close to being turned on, I would say. And it's more like, does she feel turned on? That's what you need for her to have. Like, she could like you and never sleep with you. That is not really like one of the elements that you need is that she likes you. There are lots of guys that are liked by many women and never sleep with them, or the guy that is really funny and they like to have him around, or the guy that they call for advice when they've got their relationship problems because they like they like him. So like is not the prerequisite. The prerequisite is that you turn her on.
Right. Okay. Fair point. I agree with that. Okay. Someone says, yeah, Vishu, we already covered the Good Morning Bring interview, so that was earlier.
I just get backlash everywhere. So yeah, I get a lot of backlash, and it's just I don't think there's anything that scandalous.
What was the backlash you got? Like, what, just people like yelling at you or shit, or like what was the backlash?
The normal cancel culture stuff. So my game got banned from a lot of places. It got it was supposed to come out on PlayStation. It was supposed to come out on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, a bunch of other places. So it got banned everywhere. My Facebook got deleted. My Wikipedia page got deleted.
Oh damn, dude!
Like lots of things. So
did you fire that PR company? It seems like they just had the opposite effect of what you hired them for.
I fired them like halfway into their last contract. It was too late. Yeah, I needed to fire them before they started. But it was kind of bad luck because of the Me Too thing. Because no one could have been cancelled for what I was cancelled for in 2017, and then I think it was 2018. Me Too came out, and then they were kind of looking for targets.
Yeah. It's like insane. It's just like, who's the next target? Who can we find? Yeah, I had a Vice article that came out about me in 2018 actually as well, and it got my Facebook banned. But yeah, it was like super negative, like just super also not true, like just factually incorrect. Sneaky fuckers, but yeah. Which sucked because I used to have a lot of respect for Vice because of their some of their foreign journalism and stuff like that. Like, I actually still think they do a good job with like some of like the going to like Afghanistan and shit, and like doing investigative journalism there, right? So I still am kind of a fan of Vice, but after that, it's like it's like, imagine like someone you look up to kind of like decides to shit on you. It's like kind of one of those things.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is an interesting question. Ask Richard, how was his tradition to a more family-oriented lifestyle?
It was okay for me. So I'm older now, and I was not really enjoying the clubs and stuff anymore. I wasn't even enjoying going on a date and having to go through all that, get to know you stuff and whatever. So I was kind of done with that, and I found it quite easy to transition from. I found it harder to transition from doing business to not doing business. Like, that was harder. I was still having business ideas and stuff, but I didn't find that I was missing going to parties and cold approaching loads of women, or flying around the world just to find the most beautiful women, or doing stuff that I used to do. I think I fully got it out of my system.
Okay. Fair enough. What does Richard think of the London Daygame method and those guys?
I watched that come up, and they actually worked for me. Like, the guy that started daygame.com was our designer, and he learned Daygame while he was working for me. So it kind of, and I even owned 1% of the company and stuff. So it was a direct offshoot from PUA training back in London in those days. And the thing, like, I really like Yad, and he's like the godfather of it, the one that taught all of those guys, and I think he's excellent. But I think somewhere I'm not that big of a fan of it overall, and I don't respect it that much because day game and getting a number in the daytime is quite trivial, and it's not a full range of pickup skills. It's not, even if she's very pretty, it's much harder to get her number or kiss her in a bar, the same girl, than it would be in the daytime. Because there's no competition in the daytime, and they all learn this, kind of line, excuse me, I just saw you and I had to come and tell you that, you look really nice or whatever. And they have this thing. It works, a high percentage of the time. It's a lot of flaky numbers for most of the guys that don't have like the full ticket of skills. It gets a lot of flaky numbers, which looks flashy and cool. But it definitely is not the full range of pickup moves, because if you're in a high-end club, you cannot be in there like in your shorts and baseball hat and stuff. Like how you look is important. Your body language is important. Your nonverbal communication is important. You can't really think that you're going to be able to have a long conversation. You're being judged as soon as you step in the room, and based on all of your activities in that place until you talk to her. And then she's got social pressure in her mind thinking, do I want to be seen talking to this guy? So like there's so much going on, and you learn so much about social dynamics from night game, especially high-end night game. And in the daytime, I feel like you can leave a bunch of those skills on the side and still get top results.
That's interesting. Yes, I agree with part of what you said and disagree with part of what you said, because I would say that from what I've seen, getting a makeout is harder during the daytime than at night, because at a bar it's like more socially accepted versus like for a daytime you have to like really turn her on and shit for to get her to make out with you in the middle of the street. So
yeah, that's true. However, the time it would take to get a makeout in terms of like, you get a bunch of numbers in the daytime, you meet them in the night later, and then you make out with them. Like it in terms of getting a kiss from that girl is easier in the daytime. Like it might take longer or take 2 dates, but it's going to be harder. You're correct in that when someone's drunk in a bar and they're used to making out in a bar, like you're going to find it easier to make out with them. But to get to that point is a lot harder in the nighttime.
Okay. So this is a question. If you were to get back into the game, Richard, would you do cold approach or online dating? Sounds like you would do cold approach.
I would definitely do cold approach. I don't like online dating. I mean, when there was no internet, when I was around, I didn't like the online dating, so I didn't do it. I had some experiences where I'd meet her and I immediately didn't like her, and I'd wasted this time chatting to her. And if I met her for real, I would have known that immediately. I think a lot of guys spend too long chatting, and if you look at the amount of time you spend sending messages and stuff to do with online dating, and put that out there doing cold approaching, you're going to be a way better man in many ways. And doing the chatting online, it's so risk-free and so protected that it's just, it gives you less. So I would definitely do cold approaches. I don't want to be one of 1,000 guys messaging the hot girl,
Yeah, I like both. I mean, I think both are great. They both have their pros and cons, I think. So anyway,
I'm old school. Yeah, I'm old school. I hate wasting time. I hate messaging. I don't message anyone. Like if someone wants to be my buddy and message me every day, it doesn't work. So I'm not going to be messaging a girl for an hour before I meet her. It's just.
You might if you were to get back in the dating scene, you might actually, that might be like a potential struggle or adjustment you'd have to make, because a lot of chicks, especially younger girls, like they do want to fucking text forever.
Well, I mean, that was the case when I was dating, and they were younger. They were always 18 to 25. So it was.
I just think it's gotten a lot worse because I can tell you, like, I got into gaming like 2013, 2014. Like, it's definitely different, like now in 2022, in terms of like how much messaging and annoying back and forth you need than it was when I got into gaming. Like 2014, it was like actually like a lot of times it was actually like super easy. It was just like, hey, what's up? Hey, how much? Let's grab a drink, cool. Versus now, there's more like, I don't know, because these tricks have so many options now, and social media and shit has fucked it up. But yeah, anyway. Someone says, can Richard give some body language tips for nonverbal communication to show interest, intent, and how to build sexual tension?
Okay, so that's obviously not something you want to do, like right away or all the time. And so the first thing to address is the timing for it. So when should you show sexual intent is when you feel like you want to go for the kiss. So you when you feel comfortable enough and you're in the interaction, it could be very soon, like on the dance floor, like happen really soon, or it could be a second date. But at some point you're going to be like, okay, I want to kiss her. At that point, you need to make sure that you're speaking slow enough. You want to speak with a lot of pauses. The pauses should be in the middle of the sentences, not at the end. And I'm kind of overdoing it just to show.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
In those pauses, you just look at her for a second, look in the eye, and you want to just look for this kind of, she might go slightly red, she might blush, she might look shy.
I'm blushing right now, Richard. I can't handle the tension.
Or she might look at your lips, and you can glance down at her lips. And when she's talking, you can just look at her lips and then look at her eyes and look at her lips and nodding as if you're like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And this kind of smirk, again, like, is playful, right? And think about sexual predator mode is creepy. If you're playful, if you're smirking, it diffuses all of that. So for me, like a key part of the sexual vibe is like keeping that playfulness, and you slow it down to that kind of point. You might say, like, stop for a second and just turn her face and give her a kiss on the cheek, and then say, okay, carry on. Like, see how she reacts to that. You could give her a kiss on the cheek, then say, oh, I'm gonna do it European way, give her a kiss on the other cheek, and then come back to the middle and kind of pause, and then give her a proper kiss. Like, there's all different ways, and I'm sure there's lots of ways to, like, the actual mechanics of the final kiss. But for me, it's like setting that vibe, because a lot of guys are sitting there and they're like, I want to kiss her, and they're like, oh yeah, that's, oh yeah, tell me what, and it's completely not doing it. If you inject that vibe, as I discussed, then she's going to feel it. She's going to feel it too. And then she's going to want it. So if you asked her if she wanted to kiss you at the beginning there, she would say no. And you shouldn't ask her if she wants to kiss you. But if you kind of read her mind, she wouldn't want to kiss you at that moment. But you start doing that stuff and making her feel the vibe. You can tilt your head, because that's something people do before kissing. All of that stuff, and then she will slip into the vibe. She'll start looking at your lips. She'll look a bit shy, or just look like she's turned on, or look like she wants you, and then you get your answer, and to go for it. You should not ask, can I kiss you?
That was good stuff, man. Okay, yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for that breakdown. Does Richard do more direct or indirect game? When does he think each should be used?
I did the complete opposite. So I've met a girl in the street and took her back to the house within seconds, like 2 minutes. And I've done super indirect 6-month game where I'm very sociable and nice to a bunch of girls, and always invite them out. They're hanging around, and then when they least expect it, I strike. Like, No, actually, like when they start to like me, and why isn't he hitting on me? And and then it's the right time. So I've done both, and obviously, direct on like the more sexual. There are people out there who just want to get laid, women too, not just men, and they're really like, I need to get laid tonight. And if you're going to be indirect and ask for her number, she's going to be disappointed because she would actually want sex that night. So a lot of it is kind of like feeling the vibe, but obviously direct is more like noisy plays, drinks, and or after party, or people on vacation, who are more less inhibitions, more willing to let loose. And indirect is really nice if you don't want to blow stuff up, like at your gym or something. Like you don't want to be humiliating yourself. Just worm your way in, make friends, keep it going, find out what's going on, invite out as friends in a group, and slowly let it be like a slow burn approach.
Yeah, I always say for like beginners, it's good to go direct, so because to practice that. But once you get more advanced, you can practice going like semi-direct, right? Where you go like indirect and you transition to direct. I do think there's advantages like for cold approach to go a little bit indirect at first because it allows the girl to just build a little comfort and then you transition. So like that's versus
normally not on that page in the daytime. It's going to be like a shock response. Like, what is
this? If you're like, hey, I thought you were really cute, want to meet you. Like that's like for some girls, like she might like you, but that's just like too much too fast, and she like panics. She's like, oh, I have a boyfriend, right? She doesn't even have a boyfriend. She doesn't mean it. And then later she thinks like, oh, why didn't I talk to this guy, right? It's just like auto defense mode. So that's like the advantage of like going a little indirect. But I think a lot of beginners, if they go indirect, they'll stay indirect. They'll never transition, which is also problematic. Okay, let's take like maybe one last question. Actually, this is a good one. What's your favorite country or place to game?
I did a lot. I mean, I did a lot in London, obviously, and I think I did well in the States because I'm British, so like New York and Miami and stuff, obviously. But because my favorite women were Eastern European, and I know it's Russia's bad at the moment, and you probably can't go there, but I had great times in Moscow and Kiev and Odessa and all the places in the news because of war at the moment. And Sweden, Stockholm. I've been to 80 plus countries, so I think for me, Eastern Europe and Scandinavia. But that's my style. Like I like that style of look, like tall and slim with blue or green eyes. And it wasn't really so much my thing, like the Brazilian style. So like more bigger and more like jolly and stuff. It wasn't so much my thing. So it really depends. Like some guys swear by Colombia, and
I love
everyone's
Colombia.
different.
Yeah, but it does depend on your like preference. What you I like the point. I like the opposite of literally what you like. I like basically shorter, big ass, big titty type of chicks.
I've seen them around here. I know what you mean.
They exist, yeah. Cool. Yeah, well, dude, I think this was a dope podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. Do you have anything? I don't know, any closing thoughts or anything else?
No, it was nice. I mean, I wanted to do this just to like stay fresh and have some little exposure to the community that was my life for many years. So thanks for the invitation. I hope the guys got some value from it, and wherever you are in your game or your life, I hope you do well, and I really think you can. There's no reason why you can't with the right tools and right attitude and all of that. So it's a real thing. Like I'm not selling anything, right? So if it were all BS and I got out of this industry and I'll be like, yeah, it's all bullshit. But it isn't. Like you really can transform and become a happy, cool guy if that's what you want to be.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, anytime you want to come on, you have an open invitation. So anytime you want to come on and have a discussion, you have an open invite.
Nice
but yeah, dude, thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Until next time. Peace.